You say your birthday doesn't matter, that it's just another day on the calendar, that you've outgrown the need for celebration. But here's what you're not saying. You've been training yourself to be invisible. Every year you let that day pass without acknowledgement. You're not being mature. You're rehearsing your own erasure. You're practicing what it feels like to not exist. And the most disturbing part? You think you chose this. You didn't. Something happened that made you decide being forgotten by choice hurts less than being forgotten by accident. And now you're stuck in a loop where you're both the victim and the architect of your own neglect. I know this because I've seen it. The pattern, the mask, the lie you tell yourself every single year. By the end of this, you'll see it too. And once you do, you can't unsee it. This isn't about birthdays. It's about why you've made peace with disappearing. Let me tell you what's actually happening when someone says they don't care about their birthday. They're performing emotional disappearance. Think about it. Your birthday is the one day that marks your existence on this planet, the day you became visible to the world, and you've chosen to treat it like it never happened. That's not indifference. That's symbolic self-erasure. Here's what nobody wants to admit. When you stop celebrating your birthday, you're practicing being invisible. You're conditioning yourself and everyone around you to forget you exist. And the scariest part, you're doing it on purpose. The psychology goes deeper than disappointment. Yes, maybe people forgot your birthday before. Maybe your childhood celebrations were underwhelming or painful. But here's what really happened. Your brain made a calculated decision. It decided that being forgotten hurts less when you've already erased yourself. It's not emotional protection, it's preemptive annihilation. You stopped celebrating before they could stop celebrating you. You rejected the spotlight before it could pass you by. You became forgettable by choice because being forgotten by accident felt like death. Psychologists call this a control paradox. When you can't control whether people value you, you control the narrative by devaluing yourself first. You become the author of your own irrelevance. And here's the manipulation. When you tell people, "I don't do birthdays," you're not just setting a boundary. You're testing them. You're seeing who cares enough to push through your resistance, who remembers without a reminder, who fights to celebrate you even when you've made it socially awkward to try. It's a loyalty test disguised as humility. But the darkest layer, you've weaponized your own abandonment. Every person who forgets your birthday now has an excuse. Every person who doesn't reach out can say, "Well, they said they don't care." You've given everyone permission to neglect you, and then you use that neglect as proof that you were right to not care in the first place. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy of loneliness, and you built it yourself. Now let me show you the 3 psychological masks people wear when they ignore their birthday. And I guarantee you'll recognize yourself in at least one. Mask 1. The martyr. This person has convinced themselves they're above needing attention. They're the giver in every relationship. The one who remembers everyone else's special days, who plans the parties, who makes others feel seen. But here's the manipulation. They're building a debt ledger in their mind. Every birthday they remember for others is proof of how good they are. And every birthday others forget for them is proof of how undervalued they are. They don't celebrate their birthday because they want the moral high ground. They want to be the victim who never asked for anything, the person who gave and got nothing back. It's not generosity, it's resentment with a halo. Mask 2. The philosopher. This person intellectualizes everything. They say things like, "Birthdays are just capitalist constructs," or "I celebrate life every day, not just one day a year." They've rationalized their way out of feeling anything. But here's what's really happening. They're terrified of admitting they want something, because wanting makes you vulnerable. Wanting means you can be disappointed. So they dress up their fear in pseudo-wisdom and call it enlightenment. They're not evolved. They're emotionally anorexic. They've starved themselves of desire so long they've forgotten what hunger feels like. And the darkest part, they judge everyone who does celebrate. They look down on people who post birthday photos or have parties, because seeing others receive joy exposes how empty they feel. So they mock it, dismiss it, anything to avoid confronting their own hollowness. Mask 3. The ghost. This is the most dangerous one. This person has fully internalized the belief that they don't matter. They don't just skip celebrating, they actively hide. They turn off social media. They don't tell anyone it's their birthday. They spend the day alone like they're mourning something. And in a way, they are. They're mourning the version of themselves that believed they deserved to be seen. Here's the brutal truth. This person isn't avoiding disappointment. They're confirming their deepest fear, that if they disappeared completely, nobody would notice. And by making themselves invisible on the one day they're supposed to be visible, they're testing that theory over and over. It's not self-protection, it's slow-motion suicide of the self. Every year they do this, they practice being nothing. They rehearse their own erasure. And the longer you practice something, the better you get at it. Now here's where it gets really dark. All three of these masks serve the same function. They let you control the narrative of your own neglect. Because here's what you're actually afraid of: trying, hoping, wanting to be celebrated, and then facing the possibility that nobody cares enough to do it. So you eliminate the risk. You make it impossible to be disappointed by preemptively destroying the expectation. You can't lose a game you refuse to play, but you know what the cost is? You never win either. You've traded the possibility of pain for the guarantee of emptiness. And somewhere deep inside, beneath all the rationalizations and defenses, you know it. You know that every birthday that passes without acknowledgement chips away at something essential, your sense of mattering. And here's the thing about not mattering: it doesn't happen all at once. It's gradual, like slow carbon monoxide poisoning. You don't notice the self-dissolving until you realize you've spent years being a supporting character in your own life. The people around you adjust too. When you consistently signal that you don't need attention, people believe you. They stop trying. They stop remembering. They stop seeing you as someone with needs at all, and you become what you pretended to be: low maintenance, invisible, forgettable. But you didn't want to be forgettable. You wanted to be unforgettable while seeming unbothered. You wanted people to fight through your resistance and prove you mattered. That's the dark secret at the core of all this. You don't ignore your birthday because you don't care. You ignore it because you care too much, and you're terrified of finding out that nobody else does. So let me tell you something you need to hear. Stop performing your own disappearance. Stop testing people with your silence. Stop punishing yourself for being human enough to want recognition. Stop calling your fear maturity and your loneliness independence. Because here's the real power move: wanting something and saying it. Being vulnerable enough to admit you'd like to be celebrated. Caring about your own existence loudly instead of apologizing for taking up space. That takes more courage than any mask you're wearing. And if people don't show up when you're honest about your needs, that's information. That tells you who to keep and who to release. But at least you'll know. At least you'll stop living in this psychological limbo where you're simultaneously hoping to be seen and hiding from view. Your birthday isn't just another day. It's the anniversary of your arrival on this earth. And treating it like nothing is treating yourself like nothing. You've spent years perfecting the art of not mattering. What if you spent the next year learning how to matter again? Not for them, for you. Because the darkest prison isn't other people's neglect. It's your own, and you're the only one who can unlock it. Now you know what you've been doing to yourself. The question is, what are you going to do about it? If this broke something open, subscribe. We don't do surface-level psychology here. We go where it's uncomfortable, where it's real, where it's dark. Join the community. This is where we have the conversations nobody else is ready for. Stop disappearing. Start existing.